5:02 right now. Former President Donald Trump is back in New Jersey at his golf resort.
Back on the campaign trail, too, after being arraigned and entering a not guilty plea on 37 felony counts.
Yeah, Mike Trim on the live desk with what he's telling supporters. Mike.
Yeah, and just taking a look still at that sketch from the federal courthouse yesterday, former President Trump, as you said, waking up in New Jersey, becoming the first president, former otherwise, indicted on federal charges. It was after his arraignment in Miami, spoke at a fundraiser late last night at his resort in Bedminster, where he immediately was on the defense. Listen to this.
Today we witnessed the most evil and heinous abuse of power in the history of our country. Very sad thing to watch. A corrupt sitting president had his top political opponent arrested on fake and fabricated charges of which he and numerous other presidents would be guilty.
Trump appeared in federal court in Miami, as we covered that, pleaded not guilty to 37 federal charges related to the mishandling of those classified documents. Also took aim at the special prosecutor, Jack Smith, calling him, quote, thug and raging and uncontrolled Trump hater. During last night's fundraiser in New Jersey, Trump says he was threatened with 400 years in prison.
Charging a former president of the United States under the Espionage Act of 1917 wasn't meant for this. An act for a crime so heinous that only the death penalty would do, and threatening me with 400 years in prison for possessing my own presidential papers, which just about every other president has done, is one of the most outrageous and vicious legal theories ever put forward in an American court of law.
So that was a fundraiser. He was speaking at the campaign sent out fundraising blast as he was heading in and out of the courtroom, trying to turn former president's legal peril to his political advantage. We'll see how that played out this morning. Maybe some totals revealed, Megan.
Okay, Mike, our parent company, Scripps News, had access inside the federal courtroom where Trump was formally charged. WPTV's Michael Williams spoke with Kellen Howell, one of the few members of the media who was allowed inside.
There were a lot of questions over who he would be allowed to speak to in general, and also about the facts of the case. And so there was a lot of back and forth on that.
Trump will not have to surrender his passport, and the court did not implement any travel restrictions on the former president. He is being held on what's called a personal surety bond that has no dollar value. The judge ordering Trump not to speak to his co-defendant and current employee, Walt Nauta, about the facts of the case. The Justice Department will now submit a list of people who could be witnesses. Many of them are likely former or current Trump employees. The judge initially said he would not be able to talk to any of the people on that list, but his legal team objected, and the judge decided the list would still be submitted, but any further disagreement over who the former president can speak with will be decided at a later date.
Happy birthday to you.
Well, following his historic court appearance, the presumed GOP frontrunner stopped by Versailles in Little Havana, Miami. The famed Cuban restaurant known for Republicans to go and campaign to court Hispanic voters. It's been that way throughout the years. You heard the crowd singing happy birthday to the former president.
All right, WPTV's Victor Jorges joins us live from Mar-a-Lago. Well, actually, first, though, take a story from our reporter Joel Lopez with some reaction.
Trump supporters I spoke with say they couldn't make it down to Miami, but got together after work and rallied on this bridge over the highway.
We look for the reactions to the drivers.
Along the 23rd Avenue overpass in Boynton Beach,
Most of them are beeping or flashing their lights.
waving at cars above I-95.
A couple thousand, I'd say, easy, yeah.
A group of Trump supporters rallying after the former president pled not guilty to 37 classified document charges. It wasn't concerning to you where the files are being kept at Mar-a-Lago?
Absolutely not. They got security right there. The Secret Service is always there. It's well locked. They had them inspected.
While there weren't a lot of people here today, they say a lot of their friends are actually down in Miami, and that's why it was important for them to be on this bridge now to show their support for other supporters driving north. With everything happening with Trump, has that lessened your loyalty? Has it made you guys stronger? How do you feel?
Stronger, much stronger. I mean, we just want to help him, get through all this, and that's why we come out.
The group says they met protesting on that overpass years ago and have rallied together since.
Yeah, it is. It's exhausting. It really is. There are times where you just at a point where you're like, maybe we should just stop, and then you see something happen and you're just like, you know what? You just can't give up.
The group plans to continue to support Trump through this process and vote for him for president in 2024.
I mean, he loves this country. He's trying to save this country. And as we can see, it's just falling apart.
That group plans to join a much larger group tomorrow outside of the bridge of Mar-a-Lago to wish Donald Trump a happy birthday. Reporting in Boynton Beach, Joel Lopez, WPTV, News Channel 5.
This morning, one man who was protesting during former President Trump's court appearance is now facing several charges. Miami police arrested 61-year-old Dominic Santana after he rushed in front of Trump's caravan. Santana showed up to the protests wearing a prison jumpsuit, as you see right there, a ball and chain, and held up a sign that read, "Lock him up." Secret Service agents quickly rushed him off the road, where he was tackled by police. He's facing charges of resisting officers without violence and obstructing traffic.
President Biden and his inner circle still holding to their position not to comment about Trump's indictment or arraignment. The White House has supposedly now issued a new directive as well to Democrats and the president's re-election campaign not to comment either. Their directive issued a couple days ago. However, there are some rumblings that Democrats and allies are worried that the president is missing a chance to hammer home the serious nature of the charges and deliver a blow to his top Republican rival.
Well, history truly does describe what we saw yesterday with a former president facing federal criminal charges, and it's something we will more than likely be seeing in history books in the years to come. So to frame this moment in history, we turn to WPTV's Brianna Nesbral live in studio with us this morning. Hey, Brianna.
Hey, Megan. Yeah, the historical significance of this day is undeniable. Many people seem to be comparing what's happening right now to President Richard Nixon's Watergate scandal, but there are some big differences. Now, we spoke to a local history professor to talk more about that. Now, Roger Chapman has been teaching history at Palm Beach Atlantic University for 16 years. He says comparing this case with Watergate makes sense. However, a major difference right now is the current mistrust in the government. Chapman says he hopes the public will have faith in democracy and in this judicial process.
There's been an anti-institutional bias in our country for a long time, but it's really bad when people who are part of the government are mistrusting the government. I mean, if we go down this road too much, we have to ask ourselves, what is the future of our democracy?
And Chapman also mentioned, as we've seen before, Trump can be known for dragging out court cases and appeals, so he says it is possible this could all still be going on during the November 2024 election.
Well, we will be following the latest in this case and all of the candidates on the campaign trail. For updates, you can scan the QR code there on your screen or search WPTV in your app store.